Entitled Mother Yells at Me for Infecting Her Family with Corona Music. Let me introduce you to a new Karen, the Indian Karen. A little longer hair tied into a ponytail and rolled into a bun that serves the function of hiding all of the 7 deadly sins. A voice shrill enough to make all the street cows turn their head to look at their mistress. A gold necklace to announce her dreaded arrival. One that I encountered. I don't know if anyone has read this article. Basically, it tells how some scientists converted coronavirus's famous spike protein into music. I have no idea if it's legit. I thought if it's true, it's cool if someone was able to do it, and thought I should share it. So I did. To Karen's son, good person, good friend. He is happy that smart people are left in the world. The next morning my mom calls me from the other room, and I pick up. This was the conversation. In Punjabi, this is a rough translation. Me, hi mo. Karen, you idiot, moron. How dare you infect my family. At this point, I just woke up, and I'm still in the weird half asleep phase, wondering to which sister I never had she was talking about. Mom, shut up Karen. Don't you dare speak to my son like that. Karen, I'll speak. Mom, shut up or I'm hanging up. Me, what's going on? Who are you? Mom, me, I have Mrs. Karen on conference. Did you give her son coronavirus? Me, what? No. Karen, don't you lie, I have seen the music you send my son. It's coronavirus. It took me a full minute to realize what she was talking about, and then it hit me. Me, have you even read the article? Karen, don't you talk back to your elders. Mom, you're acting pretty elderly now. Those two argued for 15 plus minutes. They started yelling at each other about other things, like I'm a bad influence, Karen doesn't know how to talk to anyone, stuff like that. Me, it's the translation of what scientist at MIT. I put the phone on speaker, opened the article, and started reading all the technical terms which her 5th dropout ass would not understand. Karen, you are not making any sense. Gasp, you're lying. To mom, you thought him to lie, what kind of mother are you? She finally breaks me. Me, apparently better than you. Did friend show this to you? Or did you open his phone without him knowing? Again. Karen, that is none of your business. I cut the call and immediately call my friend. I tell him everything. He's mad. This was the 6th time this month she has gone through his phone. Her excuse being, I don't want any local harlot to corrupt his son. It is my duty to make his son marry a proper Sikh girl without any distraction. Entitled Mother Wants Me to Buy Her 8-year-old a pair of $800 skates and a new hockey stick. Happy ending. Just last week I had gotten a raise at work for accepting a new position that also came with a nice bonus. Now being in my early 20s and loving hockey and gaming, I decided my bonus on gaming gear and new hockey equipment. I had just come out of the tech store in my local mall with a new Razer keyboard and a Blue Yeti microphone. I walked to the other end of the mall and went into the store where they sell sports equipment, apparel, and shoes. I instantly go over to browse the skates as mine are going on 5 years old now and are beginning to hurt my feet. I pick up the ones that are the newest model of skate that are the same brand as the ones I had. The skates were valued at around $1,000. Now there was a small child looking at the junior versions of the skates that were around $800. SC, mommy, I want these skates. M, no sweetie, you need skates and a stick, so I can't afford to buy you those skates. SC, but mommy, those skates are the best ones. While this exchange was going on, I had an employee go to get the size that I needed for my skates and began to browse the new sticks they had in stock. SC, mommy, can I please get these skates? M, no, I'll buy you these skates, but that's as much as I'll spend on skates, as she points to a $200 pair of skates. The employee had brought my skates out for me to try on to make sure they were the right fit, at which point the M makes eye contact with me. I ignore it, and after taking the skates off I grab the stick I wanted, and I go to pay. Now after I pay for my skates and stick, they ask me if I want my skates molded, to which I say yes. This is where the exchange between myself and M begins. I have my stick next to me with a bag wrapped around it to show it was paid for, and I currently have the hot skates on my feet to begin the molding process. M, excuse me, can you help me? Me, sure, what do you need? My son really wants the same skates you have, but we can't afford them. Can you buy them for him? Me. Sorry ma'am, but I worked very hard at my job to be able to afford these new skates. But he really wants them. He's really good at hockey and I feel like he deserves them. Me. You can feel like he deserves them, but I still won't be buying your kid any hockey gear. I really can't afford to buy anything else above what I've already purchased. How about you buy him the same stick you bought for yourself? The stick is about $300 for the senior model, while the junior model is around $220. Me. No, I can't afford to buy anything else today. Then sees my text or bag. How about you return those things that you bought at store name and use the money from those to buy him the stick so I can buy him the skates. You're too old to be buying things like that anyways. Me. I'm not returning anything or buying anything for your kid. Then I looked to the kid for a brief moment who seemed visibly upset. You don't need the best gear to be the best buddy. All you need is the want to be great. What would you know about being the best? You're not the best, so why do you need the best gear when you could be helping me? It was at this point that the manager stepped in. And just so you guys know, the manager and I actually know each other as we play in the same league. And I played on a few teams with his younger brother growing up, and he went on to play professionally. What seems to be the problem? My boy wants these skates and this stick, but he won't help me get them. Well ma'am, I'm sorry, but he doesn't have to help you. It's not his obligation to buy your kid anything. Entitled mother. He says you don't need the best gear while he's buying the best gear when he cold not and helped me. He probably only wants the skates because they're the most expensive. Me. Actually I wanted the skates because it's the only company that have skates that hold up for a few years, but for that you gotta spend extra. The kid then starts to cry. Entitled mom. You made my baby cry. I'm calling the police. The entitled mom then calls the police and they show up relatively quick. Police officer. What seems to be the problem? Entitled mother. He took the stick out of my baby's hands and shoved him to the ground so he could buy it instead. Now it's worth noting that the stick is actually bigger than the child, and I've been sitting on the bench with the skates on for the last 10 minutes. Police officer. Is this true? Me. No, she's been harassing me to try to buy her son skates and a stick using my hard-earned money because he deserves it. Police officer. Can we check the tapes? Me. Sure. The police checked the tapes and the mother was arrested for false calls and to find out she had 5 unpaid tickets and a failure to appear charge as well. Just last night I saw the kid at the arena with his dad. Now we play in a league where tickets are sold for the game, but us players can have VIPs, meaning they get into the game for free and they get free drinks and food at the arena during the game. The kid was in the ice wearing the skates he wanted and the stick he wanted in his hands. As they got off the ice I stopped the kid and his father and mentioned that I was the one that basically got the mother arrested. To which the father smiled and thanked me, as he had been trying to get custody for the last year and a half since her DUI charge. I offered my VIP tickets to the father and his son, to which they gladly accepted, and I don't think I've ever seen a kid so happy. I thought you guys would enjoy a story that may not be as interesting as half the stories I've read on here, but definitely felt it was worth sharing given the way it ended. M steals game from disabled birthday boy. BB. Birthday boy BBM. BB's mother M. Entitled mother LS. Little kid. M's kid. When I was 16 I worked at an off-brand Chuck E. Cheese called Jungle George's with a monkey mascot. It was like any other place like it. Arcade. Prize booth. A kids band. And pizza. We hosted birthday parties, and if the group was big enough they could pay for a private room to eat. I was in charge of watching over a party for a boy who was turning 9. BB. Now, forgive me because I'm not sure how to describe it, but you could tell he had some sort of mental disability. Just from his mannerisms and the way he talked ECT. Plus this is confirmed by the entitled mom later. The party had about 7 other kids and their parents. One of these kids, LS, was older than the rest, looking to be 15ish. His mother, entitled mom, was clearly related to birthday boy's mother. I think they were sisters. Everything was going well. I was serving pizza and drinks and overall just standing by the side for if anyone needed help. Then it was present time. BB was so excited, and each gift was greeted with pictures and words of kindness towards birthday boy. Son and entitled mom on the other hand just stewed in the corner on the other end of the room, M on her phone and LS on a Nintendo DS. Unfortunately shit started when birthday boy opened a game. I don't know games well, but it was one of those shooters like Black Ops or Call of Duty. Son started whispering to entitled mom who walked up to BB's mom. BB's mom, don't you think that game is a little violent for someone like BB? Her voice was super condescending. Birthday boy gripped the game tight to his chest. I had a feeling my entitled mom or son had taken things from him before. No, I think it will be fine, BB's mother said back, pretty much brushing her off. Well, son has been wanting that game for a while. Maybe he should have it, and we can give you one of his old games that's nicer. Birthday boy's mother ignored her this time completely, and entitled mother huffed and went back to her corner. BBM placed the game with the other presents and continued to open others. I saw entitled mother whisper to son, who literally walked over and took the game out of the pile. I was about to say something before birthday boy noticed and started screaming and sobbing, pointing to little shit who now dropped the game back into the pile. The only thing I remember hearing clear as day was I don't remember much of the words exchanged, but BB's mother and entitled mother went at it in a screaming match. BB was gripping his ears and crying screaming. The only thing I remember hearing clear as day was entitled mother screaming, "He's retarded, how could he play it anyway?" At this point I ran to get my manager and he handled the rest of the situation, while I was told to clean in another area of the building. I saw entitled mother and son leaving angrily a few minutes later. I wish I knew what became of the kid. I didn't see him again. I just hope he had a happy birthday after his shitty aunt left. Entitled mother tries to stab me and my dog during the quarantine. Funny comment at the end. Okay, a little backstory. I was walking my dog and avoiding anyone and everyone at more than 6 feet, and my dog, a Rottweiler, was near me on a shorter leash than normal. So on to the story. So I was walking my dog and I was on my normal route and was in the home stretch of returning to my home, and this lady comes up out of nowhere and stops me and screams while spitting in my face to go inside during quarantine, and that I 14 meters will give her COVID-19 while I tested negative twice. Anyway, she then gets out of her car and has a knife and jabs it at me, telling me to stand still while my dog, an ex-police academy dog who failed the sniffing out drugs test, but I love her, tried to jump at her, and then she tells me I have an illegal dog when this dog is only on the dangerous breeds list and she's a gentle dog. Then I take off running towards my home only 100 yards away, and I run track and play basketball, so I'm pretty quick. She drives after me. Then after I'm inside she bangs on the door and my mom answers, and the lady says that I almost infected her baby and that monster creature almost bit her. Little did she know I had a video recording of the whole thing, so she was wrong. The cops were called and she tries to lie like the typical M. Then I say I have an audio recording of the whole thing. The lady then says that's illegal to record other people without consent. My mom finally says, "I told him to have this just in case, bitches like you come along." The cops return. After listening to the audio, "Ma'am, you are violating 4 laws currently. 1 attempted assault. 2 you are inside their house without their consent. 3 social dispensing. Listening to this audio you spat on him, so that is assault, so please hand on your back and we'll get you out of here." Then the rights came after that. The funniest part of the audio was her son saying, "Mom, leave him alone. This is why dad left your dumb ass." I died laughing at that. Thanks for reading. Bye. Entitled mother demand I stop talking to her children, gets mad when I obey, and then expects me to watch her kids. Okay, I should preface this by saying this happened about 12 years ago. Now, I had mostly forgotten about this incident until I read a story about Christian entitled parents and went, oh, hey, I knew some of those. This takes place a few months after I had started going to a new church after my grandmother, who I was living with, got a flyer for a vacation Bible study the church was doing. I had enjoyed it and ended up going back every Sunday morning and Wednesday night. We were new to the area and didn't have a church to go to yet, so finding one I enjoyed was a blessing. I was one of the older kids there, at 11, and there was only one other kid my exact age there, and he usually only showed up every 2 weeks or so. There was this one girl, however, that got really attached to me. She was a few years younger and her brother was just a year older than her. He wasn't nearly as attached, but still liked to get me to play with them, and these kids were actually the pastor's kids. At the time I was really into Yu-Gi-Oh and my grandmother had just bought me some cards, and I was ecstatic. This included the little girl, but oh boy had talking to her about it been a huge mistake. I was talking about to anyone that would willingly listen to me, and that meant bringing my cards to church and talking about it with people there. This included the little girl, but oh boy had talking to her about it been a huge mistake. Once the services were over and everyone was getting ready to leave, the pastor's wife comes to me and asks me to come talk to her in another room. I follow her, thinking maybe she had something for me. We weren't exactly well off, so it wouldn't be the first time I left with more than I had arrived with. Anyway, I get to this room and inside already are the pastor's mother and another woman from the church, whose name I can't remember. So I'm going to call her Nancy, because she reminded me of a Nancy. Nancy was my hero in this situation. The pastor's wife sits down in front of me and begins to tell me that she doesn't like the way I was talking to her daughter. I'm very much confused at this point, because I definitely wasn't being mean or saying bad words or anything. She then continues on to tell me that I should not be talking to her daughter about demons and the occult, and that's when it dawned me that she's talking about my Yu-Gi-Oh cards. My throat felt tight at that point, and I was trying so hard to not start crying right there and then because I couldn't begin to understand why I was getting berated over talking about my cards, and I try to explain that it's just a game and show I like. She tells me she knows that, but it's still completely unacceptable and she doesn't want me talking to her kids again. Ever. Not just about the cards, about anything. And then she tells me I can go, so I rush out of there to the van that brought me there. I go home and completely bawl my eyes out. The thing was, this was about the time my anxiety really got the better of me, even if I didn't know that's what it was back then. Just the thought that I was gonna be in trouble with my grandmother and her husband was enough to send me into a full-blown panic attack and lock myself in my room. I ended up skipping the next Sunday school by pretending to be sick. Nancy and her husband actually showed up at my home the day after I missed. They asked that I don't take anything the pastor and his wife say too seriously. That because they are well off and send their kids to a good Catholic school, that they could be a bit uppity. They told me they hoped I would continue coming to the church because they loved having me, and that made me feel a little better. And I did enjoy going to that church. So, next Wednesday evening rolls around, the van shows up, and I go to church again. I wish I hadn't. I get there, and church service proceeds as normal, but we stay behind a little longer to make Christmas decorations before we leave. The kids keep trying to talk to me, and I try to ignore them. The boy, once realizing I wasn't going to play with him like usual, goes to play somewhere else. The girl, however, does not. As I said before, she had been quite attached to me and kept trying to get me to talk to her. I was afraid of getting in trouble again, so I crack and tell her that I'm sorry, but I'm not allowed to talk to her anymore. She looked confused and hurt, which in turn made me hurt. She was a sweet kid, but I shouldn't have even said that, because her mother comes storming over, scolding me for ignoring her kid, and I'm just so confused. She had literally told me the week before that she didn't want me talking to her kids at all. She then tells me that because I was so rude I could take her kids into the playroom and watch them while the adults cleaned up the tables and leftover supplies, and I'm just standing there, dumbfounded and trying so hard not to cry. He tells me to go on, then, but before I can say anything Nancy swoops in to save me. She tells the pastor's wife that, actually, she had gotten a phone call from my grandmother, and that I needed to get home right away. She tries to argue that the van can't leave until they're done cleaning up, and Nancy tells her that's okay, because she'll be taking me home. I start crying as soon as we get into the car, and Nancy, the sweetheart she was, stopped at a gas station and bought me a cocoa and a donut to try and make me feel better, so I was a little less blubbery by the time I got home. In the end, I was too afraid to ever go back to that church. The next time the van came around to pick me up, my grandmother had to go out and let the drivers, who were also very good people, know that I wasn't coming this time or ever again. while I hid under my covers, too ashamed to face them myself. I spent a long time thinking it was my fault, that what I had done was inherently wrong. I even ended up giving my cards to a friend, because I couldn't look at them without wanting to throw up. Sorry this got kinda long. This is the first time I've told anyone outside of my grandmother about this situation. Obviously, looking back now, I know I was no way in the wrong and the pastor's wife in no way made sense with the way she treated me. Edit. Fixed some typos.